Hello everybody. I am going to take a quick minute to just give you an update on some of my projects. I started this shawl and I will put details on where I got the pattern and who the designer is. I'm going to show it a little closer. You can see there's a lot of variations here. The original shawl calls for a certain kind of yarn, but what I'm trying to do is use up my stash. So I am using a combination of threads and loops and Lion Brand Landscapes. I don't normally use acrylic yarn, but for things around the neck, I like using it because you will have warmth, but it won't be itchy. I get itchy myself. I don't have a problem with wool, but I don't like things around my neck. But if I need a scarf or a cowl, I like it to be acrylic. I am using the loops and threads. You can see, if you look very closely, just the blues right here. That's the loops and threads. And then for the variegated, I'm using this particular one, which is called Blue Lagoon, for kind of a more bluish color. And then I was really happy to come across this Boardwalk Promenade. It's they're both variegated, and this one's multicolored. I love it. So that's giving this variegated here, and then the variegated blues and purples here. Working on that, almost done on the last legs, probably 3/4 of the way through on that one. And again, I don't always remember who the designers are, so I will put that information down below. And then as for my pullover, the vest, basically, this is how far I've gotten. Yes, the ribbing is longer than normal, and that is because I am using Patons Worsted in a variety of colors. You can see these colors very closely match the original photograph, and it's what I had in my stash. And I kept thinking about, what am I going to do with this? Do I want to make a Nordic, some kind of a Fair Isle? What do I want to do? And I really wanted to do more traditional Fair Isle. So X's and O's, very traditional. And I like the way it's turning out. So this is about, I'm going to make it a longer waist, so it's not quite up to the armpits yet. So I think I will get the full first chart for this one. I did have to do a lot of math to figure out how to get to the gauge, and then I did a test swatch in the round to basically making a hat. Do I have that hat? I think I showed it once before. Yes, I did. I showed it once before. I'm not going to try to find it. But in my last video, I explained how I had learned this method from a Shetland knitter. Again, I'll put all that information below because I just don't remember this stuff off the top of my head. I remember Jeopardy information, but when it's important stuff, unless I'm actively doing it, I don't remember. Anyway, I learned that she makes a kep or a hat because that's in the round, and it's a more natural in the round method. There are other methods, which I put in my show notes in the last video, but I found it to be really helpful, and you get a useful product out of it instead of a swatch. Now, when you do swatches, don't throw those away, because you can actually sew or knit those together and make a small blanket, or I imagine you could also make some kind of a fabric and then make a sweater out of it eventually. I mean, you know, there's all sorts of uses. Think of quilting when you have your swatches. Think, oh, how could I put this together and make something really crazy later on? Never throw anything away. There's always a use for something. But if you swatch, you end up with small pieces of yarn that are almost useless. So the idea of making a hat was much more logical to me. So I did that. So those are the two things I'm working on as far as knitting. I did get a quilt out in the mail to someone that was a commission, using Juicy Juice fabric that I had in my stash. That's just very precious. It was a Deco Glow 2, which is out of print. I love that. And he makes this amazing patterns on fabric. I posted that on my Facebook, probably went to the Instagram if you were interested in looking at what that looked like. But it's already in the mail, so I don't have it. I might have showed it in my last video, but I don't remember. See, I don't remember these things. What I have to do this morning is a little bit of mending before I go to work. But the other thing I'm working on, which is fun, is I'm going to do some Disney bounding. You know, for those of you who don't know, I make magic in Galaxy's Edge on the Millennium Falcon. And I decided this year I'm going to do some Disney bounding. Not specific cosplay, because we can't do cosplay. Anybody can't do cosplay at Disneyland unless it's a specific night. For example, if it's a 90s night and you dress up as Powerline, that's okay as an adult. Kids can always dress up, but adults cannot. So on Star Wars night, you can cosplay in a full costume. That's quite all right. Adults can't do that any other night. So I'm going to go into the park on the first day of Season of the Force, and I am going to Disney Bound as a smuggler. I found this fisherman's vest at the thrift shop. It's got a lot of pockets and things. So I cut off the zipper that went down the front. There are no zippers in Star Wars, in case you didn't know that. Yes, I have zippers on my costume pants, but we don't want my pants to fall down, do we? So there was a zipper in the front here that was visible, so I just put a flap with this upholstery fabric. And this is the same upholstery fabric that I am going to use to make a, gosh, I will put the information down below. I don't have the pattern in front of me, but it looks like a holster, but it's actually a bag. It's like a convention holster or something, she calls it, but it fits around the waist and then straps onto your leg. It's a bag, but it looks like a holster. Now, we can't specifically wear holsters because that implies you have a weapon. So if I have a flap over the front as a bag, that'll be great. And I've got some other accoutrement. Let me show you. Let's see if I can do this without my cat jumping on my back, which he likes to do. I am going to do some greebling, which is basically taking parts of stuff and putting them on other items to make them look like, I don't know, space age tools. So I found, this is actually a Black Widow. No, this is a web slinger. This is a web slinger. This is a Black Widow wrist. I think it was like a Nerf shooter. And then this really funny Fisher Price that looks like an Xbox controller. So these are all going to be painted gray, all of them. And I am, there's my cat. Hello, kitty. Watch out, Oscar. I'm in the middle of things. I am going to mask certain pieces because I do not have a tiny screwdriver that I would need in order to take them apart. And I like to be cost effective. So I'm just going to mask off some of the pieces, paint it gray, and then put some black. But the other thing I got, which is exciting, is I got this little bag of Legos. So some of these tiny pieces I will glue on to maybe make some more button type items. And then these I can put inside of the holster, the bag, and I can have them on my wrist and look like they're communication devices. Not weapons, but just communication devices. So that is going to be fun. And I have some, I think, Dickies or something I can wear as pants, and I've got my Doc Marten boots. It'll all be together. It'll all fit together. I've got a black belt somewhere I can wear, so it'll go nicely. Oh, plus, this is the coolest part. I got these. If you've ever been on Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, at the very, Rise of the Resistance, at the very end, when you park, when you kind of crash into the facility, there's somebody working on one of the, working on an engine part or working on something, and they are wearing something like this, these goggles on their head. So I got these. So I'm not going to wear them. I might just put them on my head or just have them around my neck. That was exciting to find those. That was the only thing I kind of bought new. Everything else I got at thrift shops. As you know, I love thrifting. Now, my final thing I'm going to talk about is this sweater, my Yuha fish sweater that I made for myself because I wanted to make it in these colors. I changed the color combination a little bit from the way she has it. I don't think she would be upset about that, but I just wanted to have the darker fish because it reminded me of salmon. I'm from the Pacific Northwest originally, and just kind of evokes salmon. The thing I'm going to change about this sweater, because I have larger shoulders, and I didn't think about this because this is not a top-down knit, it's a bottom-up knit, was that, I don't know if you can see, I'm going to back up a little bit. So I've got it so it fits nicely, but when I lift my arms, it bunches up. So I figured out I need to reduce 7 rows from the body to bring everything to a point where my armpits are actually gonna, you know, fit right. So the next one I make, that's what I'm gonna do. It did not have it wasn't a problem for the other person that I made one for, or who got one from me, but that's something you figure out. And now that I'm going to start doing some top-down knitting, which is the way my mom used to make sweaters, I'm probably going to I'll be able to fit them on better, although they're not always for me. They're oftentimes for other people. And I've got a couple of calculations I'll be able to use. So I'm excited about making them a little more customized. That's what I've been doing. Making magic at Disneyland, making quilts, making sweaters, cowls. I'm not sure what my next project is going to be, although I did put all of my yarn stash into Ravelry, as well as some Happy Sheep big wool super bulky that I got that I am not going to use, and that is for trade or sale. And basically anything in my stash is available for trade or sale, because if somebody else can use it, great. My goal this year is to use it all up. Yes, I'm sad about Joann closing. I'm sad about them discontinuing their sales of really, really good yarn before this all happened. But the most I'm sad about is the people that work there, because there are some really nice people at the one I went to that was across the street from my apartment. And I had a chance to chat with some of them, and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do next. I have been there. I've been there twice on the corporate side where I was downside, and then other positions where I had to leave because I had to move to another city, or I had to leave because, you know, like when I got in my car wreck and I had to leave because I couldn't do the work anymore. I know what it feels like to be doing something and it's not by choice. It's from necessity, or someone else imposes it on you. And I think we're all in that place right now where we're getting things imposed on us. I am on partial Social Security and I work part-time. If I lose that Social Security and have to go to work full-time, I'm not sure I would be able to do it where I'm currently at. And that would mean finding another full-time job. And while I am one of those people that is willing to do whatever it takes, I am also almost 65 years old, and there is age discrimination out there. It's rampant, and that's what we work against. So yes, there are jobs available, but will they hire me because of my age? You know, it is what it is. And yes, I'm a highly valued employee because I'm a good employee, but also I have degrees in my pocket that are very useful. And it saddens me that those of us who have degrees aren't always able to use them. But I understood that when I went to college and I got those degrees, and I also went to places where those degrees were needed. And now with the demolition of the Federal Department of Ed, I think I probably will be useful locally, but it may only be pro bono. And that's okay with me, because I will be of service to my community. But if it comes down to needing to earn money, I'll have to find something else, and I'm willing to do that. But we shouldn't be in this situation. And I hope that everyone is learning that their choices affect other people. I think a lot of people go to the polling place and fill out their ballots, and they think about themselves. I had a conversation with a fellow cast member who voted a certain way because his other job, he makes a lot of money and he didn't want his taxes to go up. And I looked at him, I said, well, what about me? What about me? And that's what we have to remember, is that whatever we do, our decisions will almost always affect someone else. And that's where I learned a long time ago that freedom ends at the tip of your nose. And after that, it becomes license. That's why we have a driver's license. We're not free to drive a car. We have a license because we need to make sure people understand the rules of the road and be safe, you know? And if you just get in a car and start driving and you don't know that, it's scary. It's scary what happens. And I've been in at least one car wreck where the other person did not have a driver's license and they did not know the rules of the road. And I almost died because of that. That's just one example. So make good choices, not just about yourself. Think about people around you, not just your family, but think about your community. There are other people in your community that have needs and they can't always meet those needs, and it's not always their fault. So I think part of what we have to do in our community and society is we need to think about others more often and less about ourselves sometimes. But that requires being selfless. And there are those who have never wanted for anything, and they are making decisions. And I don't think those types of people should ever be in power because they don't understand how the rest of us live. That's my soapbox for the day. As you know, I usually sneak one of those in every video. Having said that, I look forward to talking to you about my other projects as I think about them this week and what I want to work on, how my Disney bounding outfit comes together. Probably by the time I talk to you next, I'll be able to show you that holster bag, as well as what other knitting or quilting project I will have started. So you have an awesome week. I hope everything is going well for you, and do the right thing for the right reason, and life will usually pay you back in kind. So have a great week, everybody.